Hi there guys, and welcome back to the blog. And I just wanted to have a quick blog entry, really, just something simple. I just wanted to take you through my usual gear setup that I use, the two guitars that I usually use for gigging, rehearsing, studio time, any session work I'm doing, even any teaching. I always seem to pick up these two. I have got others dotted around, but it's always these two for me. They're pretty special in my opinion. And I'm just going to walk you through the first one, so let's just have a little look. So will probably 70% of the time go for the Strat. This is just the kind of classic guitar. Let me plug that in. Okay. So now, what I'm actually plugging it into, just over there, down there, you can see this is a Fender Blues Deluxe, a lovely valve amp. Now, I've got that on about 1 at the moment, and you can hear it's gonna. I have to be pretty restrained with that for it to not blow my mind. But of course, it's a live, it's a gigging amp. I would use it if I went into a big kind of studio complex and really crank it up, and my God, you get some good sounds out of it. It seems to work particularly well with this beautiful Strat. Now, I got this about 8 years ago. It's just an American standard, totally, off the shelf, new bog standard guitar. But as with all guitars that you just kind of pick up and go, whoa, there's something really special about this one to me. And it's just moulded over the years into, basically, it just feels like an extension of me, this particular guitar. And, I absolutely love it. It's just got your basic kind of 3 Strat pickups, which is great, your 5-way selector, all your usual things that you would expect. But you can get a huge range of sounds off of this, from kind of pretty... sounds or lead tones. You can get all your Hendrix. And then as you kind of just flick through the kind of selection, you get all kinds of tones that because it's a Strat, and because the Strat is part of music history now, you as you flick through this selector, you kind of get tones which just immediately remind you of songs and tunes. For example, if I go to the back pickup, just the other day I was playing and going through this. Mark Knopfler kind of style stuff. Anything that takes your fancy, but if you start adding a bit of gain in front of that, I have to admit, the amp itself, I'm not a huge fan of the gain channel, but if you find the right pedals, and again, I've got a great pedal board that has been custom made for me, and I'll take you through it in another blog post, but you can get some really screaming tones, great for blues. And at the moment I'm in a kind of disco funk, I suppose you would call it, pop band, and therefore I'm doing this kind of Michael Jackson style guitar parts that kind of go like, Bee Gees or Chic, and this guitar just absolutely fits the bill every step of the way. All that kind of sound. So I will pick this guitar up for almost everything. I feel like, to be honest, even though it's single coil, you can get some pretty rich and nice sounds out of it. But that's just me. This one suits me particularly well. I will say there is a big difference between, I have a lot of students who bring in the kind of the cheaper, the kind of Mexican versions of the Strats, and unless you're pretty lucky, I feel there is a step up in terms of the feel and quality when you deal with a US something like this. So anyway, let's have a little look at the Gibson. So okay then, so here is the Gibson ES339. Now it's a kind of modelled on the 335, which is your typical blues looking guitar, you know, with the big body. And I always like those. Not so keen on the 2.5 grand price tag, but I've always liked the look of them. And essentially, the only problem I have with them is just the size of them. They just kind of, I always found it a little awkward-ish. And then they brought these out probably about 2 years ago now, the Gibson 339. And it's just a smaller body, but you get the same kind of rich tones. So, you know, you're going to notice the difference as I kind of turn that up and play through the same amp. So, as you can probably hear, I feel this encourages blues playing. There's no doubt about it. The neck is chunky. It is just huge. I mean, it's the kind of neck you want to dig in and just go, you know, really kind of get your grips around. And when it comes to kind of bending, it doesn't get any better than the feel of just this monstrous thing in your hand. But for the same reason, it doesn't apply so well to maybe, you know, if I was doing stuff that was 100 miles an hour, you have to work a little bit harder to kind of go through those concepts. So for that reason, it's very different to the Stratocaster. And you know, if I am ever turning up to a blues jam or playing a gig like that, or maybe I just want a thicker sound, maybe I'm playing a rock gig, this kind of suits really nicely. The kind of classic humbucker thing where you get the really warm kind of sound here, and then if I knock it to the back, you get the quack. You can hear that quack, right? But you know, loads and loads of sounds, and it's versatile. It's versatile, even though it has got a big chunky neck. The strings are a little high off the fretboard, so I can get these two-tone bends out of it. It's a versatile instrument. It's a beast, and you know, I absolutely love it. So there we go. We've got two guitars that you know, if I would always have a single coil and a humbucker guitar in my collection, I feel like that covers good ground. And then beyond that, everything else is a bit fancy and extra. So we'll just stick with those two for now, but I hope that's been informative of some kind and not just an excuse for me to play guitar. Anyway, I'll speak to you soon.